Today I'm going to be talking about a very important subject. A guy by the name of Bill Gates. You may have heard of him. I used to make videos on Jeffrey Epstein, but honestly he's dead, so let's move past him. Bill Gates is a very suspicious character due to the fact that he claims to be from an upper middle class background who started everything in a garage. Yet if we go deeper into his background, we see that his father was one of the most powerful people in the United States during his time, Bill Gates Sr. Bill Gates actually admitted in an interview with Bill Moyer in 2003 that his dad ran Planned Parenthood. Now, this is sort of a vague statement, so if you go and do some research on the internet, you'll find that his dad was the head of the board of directors of Planned Parenthood. Now, that is a non-profit organization, and the board of directors are the ones who appoint the president. So his father had literally more power than the president of Planned Parenthood. Not only that, but his mother actually was very close with the CEO of IBM. And that's how Bill Gates was actually able to start Microsoft, was from the powerful connection that he had with his mother. And looking into it, his mom actually had more money than his father, because Bill Gates' great-grandfather started the Bank of Seattle back in the early 1900s. And Bill Gates still was born with this trust fund from the money that they made from that venture. So Bill Gates is not some upper middle class kid who came from nothing and started one of the most successful businesses in the United States. He actually is from a controlling family. So Bill Gates, in his interview with Bill Moyer that I referenced earlier, he also went on to say that it was so fascinating for him to listen to his father talk when he was growing up. He would talk to him like he was an adult. And one of the things that his father would talk about was the importance of Planned Parenthood, therefore the importance of controlling overpopulation. Now, I don't really have an opinion when it comes to Planned Parenthood. I'm just telling you the facts right now. Bill Gates Sr. told Salon.com that overpopulation is an interest that Bill Gates has had ever since he was a kid. And obviously that was fed to him by his father. So we see Bill Gates on the world stage advocating for vaccines. He said in his TED Talk that vaccines are the #1 way that we can control overpopulation. And his rationale behind that is, okay, if these families see that their kids are growing up to be healthy and that they survive childhood, then they will have less children. Okay, that sort of makes sense, but at the end of the day, then why does that make you such an advocate for these COVID vaccines, which are implemented to already full-grown adults? So why would Bill Gates, who has spent his life, campaigning for population control, be all into, okay, we need to keep as many elderly people alive from COVID-19 as possible? Bill Gates has openly said many times in public that it's important that, overpopulation is a big deal. So this makes no rational sense. Why are we trusting a figure like Bill Gates? So what's even more suspicious is Gates provided a 7-page interview on his late father in 2015, and he didn't mention that he was the head of Planned Parenthood once. So it's like he, in 2003, admitted his dad was in Planned Parenthood, then he got some flack from it, and now he's trying to keep it a secret. He doesn't talk about it in public anymore. So another point to really highlight how big of a controller Bill Gates Sr. was, he died in 2020, I believe. There's a quote on the internet from Howard Schultz, who is the executive chairman of Starbucks, who said, "Starbucks would not exist if it wasn't for the investment of Bill Gates Sr." This guy is a major player. He was a corporate lawyer. So Bill Gates Sr. was a major player in a lot of different corporations. So the amount of family ties the Gates family has is just, it's unbelievable. So Bill Gates and friends, they've raised over $80 million to vaccinate over 30 million people in third world countries out of the kindness of their hearts. And if you really want to help people in third world countries, shouldn't the main priority be food and clean water? That would just be my opinion. That's just sort of what makes sense to me. I don't know why is it this focus on vaccines if he's really interested in saving lives. There's other things that are, I think, a higher priority. And it's not just Bill Gates that advocates for population control. For example, the Rockefeller Foundation, you can see clips, newspaper clips from the early 1900s where they discuss the importance of eugenics. Because back during the early 1900s, eugenics was sort of a popular ideology. People like Leonard Darwin were advocating for it. Leonard Darwin was the son of Charles Darwin. But then after the Nazis, eugenics became taboo. So the idea of eugenics slowly transformed into what we see today with terms like birth control, Planned Parenthood. but it's still the same idea. It's these people that have all this power over civilization trying to make sure that us, basically to them, the herd animals, don't get out of control. So another interesting topic is Warren Buffett is Bill Gates' best friend. So Warren Buffett got into a scandal a few years ago because he funded something called the Justice Fund, where he was completely paying for women's abortions over in Planned Parenthood. Now, he wanted to keep it secret that he was the one funding these abortions because he also owns a cooking ware company that a lot of mothers, of course, are customers of. And when they discovered that he was actually funding abortions with Planned Parenthood, they boycotted his products because a lot of mothers are pro-life. So Warren Buffett was like the secret funder of Planned Parenthood for the longest time until that information got leaked to the public. So it's like, why are all these controllers so obsessed with funding Planned Parenthood and overpopulation? Regardless of what you feel about the pro-choice, pro-life argument, that doesn't matter. That's not what I'm highlighting here in this video. What I'm just simply highlighting is this really interesting parallel between billionaires and their obsession with curbing overpopulation. I'm just being the kid pointing out the emperor with no clothes right now. I'm just pointing out this simple little fact. Like, I don't really have an opinion when it comes to pro-choice, pro-life either way. And I'll just end with one last point here. If you guys, I don't know if you've ever heard of Event 201, but that was a closed-door party that Bill Gates did himself, where he invited all these global elites to talk about how they would respond to a global pandemic and how they would respond to, specifically, coronavirus was one of the diseases that they discussed, apparently, during this closed-door meeting hosted by Johns Hopkins University and Bill and Melinda Gates. Now, this transpired in October 2019, like seriously right before the pandemic. A few months later, millions of people die. It's such a very strange coincidence. It's like, and then we see this parallel, like when 9/11 occurred. All these drills and all this training was done the day that 9/11 happened, and that's why we weren't able to respond to it very quickly, because all these Air Force cadets were outside doing drills instead of being able to shoot down these planes. So it's like, is this some sort of fundamental aspect of the universe where, like, oh, Murphy's Law just keeps taking place, where, like, these controllers prepare for the events right before they occur? Or is this sort of like out of the controller's playbook, where they're like, oh, we'll have these training exercises right before we implement these strategies in order to control the population? That's what it seems. That's what it sort of seems like to me. But again, that's just speculation. And that's not really what I try to do on this channel. I just like kind of point out facts. Then you guys come up with your own conclusions. That's why I don't really even consider myself a conspiracy theorist. I'm more of just a reporter. I went to school. I got my bachelor's degree on the wall for media communications. I was the producer at my news station. I'm just reporting the facts, because the mainstream news, they don't do that anymore. They got people like Brian Stelter at CNN. He's never going to tell you the truth. Thank God he recently got fired. I mean, that made me happy. And you're seeing that with all these like reporters that we grew up with. Like Matt Lauer, he got Me Too'd. He turned out to be a complete scumbag. He had a secret hidden button, apparently, in his office where he would lock the door so he could like assault women that came into his office. And these are the people that have been reporting news to us. Complete and utter scumbags. Like Brian Stelter, look into that guy's eyes and tell me he's not like a demon. Like, he looks so scary. If I saw him in a dark alleyway, I would hope that I'd have my AR-15 with me. That dude is creepy as hell. That's about it. I hope you like the new setup. I'm going to be doing this more in the future. I got, where is it? Oh yeah, I just bought an AR-15. You know, what's that one Socrates quote? The society that separates its scholars from its warriors will have its thinking done by cowards and its fighting done by fools. We all need to become warriors. Join boxing gyms. Learn how to shoot a gun. It doesn't matter where you are in life as a man. Just learn these basic skills, and they will transcend into every aspect of your life. It actually makes you less violent if you step into the ring. A man like Bill Gates would never step into the ring. He's a total gamma male. So why are we listening to a man like Bill Gates to begin with? He has no credentials. He doesn't even have any good leadership qualities. He's pathetic. He wears his stupid little pink sweaters because he thinks it makes him more inviting, but it just makes us see through his facade that more easily. So thank you for joining me in my home, watching me by the fire. This was fun, and I'll see you next week.